Hey guys, back with another China EV IPO because today it's IPO time for XPeng, the Alibaba-backed EV manufacturer. Is going to start trading today, and so in this video I will give you my views because a couple of people have been actually asking for it, and I'm going to give you a quick overview about the IPO prospectus as well as my personal opinion whether or not I would be investing in this company. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. I cover lots of Chinese IPOs and Chinese tech as well as companies like Tesla that have a large exposure to the Chinese market, and on this channel EVs are documented quite well. I've been an early investor in Tesla, a quite early investor in NIO as well, averaging at $3 a share, and I've been driving their cars. I've been talking to consumers in China. I'm actually also a consultant in the automotive industry, so this is my background and context, and this is why I'm also talking about today about XPeng, but also a little bit about Li Auto. So here we see the registration statement by XPeng, and well, it's just the normal proceedings of offering the shares. You will see the couple of images of the cars that they're offering, and there's no question about it that this car is looking stunning. I think it's well designed. If you look just at the appearance of it, also the inside looks quite luxurious. The red seats as well as the interior digital design are made quite nicely here, and I'm showing you a couple of images and footage here that has been sent over from my friend Richard from China, because he's currently in China on the ground. He's living in Suzhou. And remember my video when I was driving with him in his NIO ES8, and now he also filmed this kind of material about the XPeng P7 sports sedan that he has found in his hometown, and he was sitting inside and testing it, and obviously the quality is quite good. The build quality is well made, particularly for the price point starting off 250,000 renminbi. So this is actually one of the competitive advantages of XPeng, that they are very aggressively priced here. And on top of the smaller price, they also have a quite good range, at least what we see in theory, and also in a couple of first YouTube videos of people who are testing it, that they can go 500 kilometers on one charge. And also on top of that, they are famous for the XPeng Pilot, the X-Pilot, which is also their answer of the Tesla Autopilot or the NIO Pilot. So that should already be it for the introduction of the product range, and I think there is no question that this car looks compelling and there is surely a market for it. However, for me as a investor, that isn't enough in order to throw my money at the company. And this is just one of the check marks that I need to make sure that I am, willing to invest my money in this company. So yeah, on the product side, there might be something compelling here. And well, I have to say I didn't drive it yet myself. In contrast to Tesla cars or NIO cars, I haven't been driving it, and I haven't been able to talk to Chinese consumers yet because of the travel ban. But my first impression is that it actually should have a market, especially at this price. So I'm not doubting that. And in general, even though I'm heavily invested in NIO as well as in Tesla, I'm generally open to more market players. And I'm actually thinking that the market will be expanding and big enough for EVs in order to have more players in the market, obviously successfully there. However, if I'm now going deeper here on XPeng as a company, I think I have to be much more critical of that. So first of all, in the prospectus, we finally see their numbers, and in the last year, they made total revenues of 328 million in total, and this year they are averaging of in the first 6 months they have done 141 million US dollars. So you see that the revenue is currently not growing as fast as before, or at least it doesn't seem like they are significantly growing their revenues this year. So that might be in some ways because of the Roni situation here, but also possibly because Q1 and Q2 are usually the weaker quarters, and maybe maybe in Q3 and Q4 they might be selling much more cars. However, in total, looking at the $141 million right now, it doesn't really seem like they will get I don't know, like more than $500 million this year in total grossing sales. And now this should already have you blink a couple of red lights here, because yeah, it shows you that, well, the growth isn't as fast as it possibly should be, and their revenues are not really big yet, and at the same time the outlook of it is somewhat weak here in this regard. And then this is the big no-go for me. When I look at the balance sheet here, I see that they ended the year 2019 with 275 million cash and cash equivalents, and now by the end of June 13th they are reporting 150 million of cash left in the banks. So this means in the last 6 months they lost 125 million, and with only 150 million in the banks, they would actually run out of cash within the next 2 quarters. And I do know that XPeng actually raised $400 million more before actually IPOing, so hopefully the cash balance should be looking a little bit better now. However, it shows me that this company is IPOing not out of a strong position. Instead, they are IPOing because they have to, they need the money in order to continue their operations. And this is really something that, well, it's well timed because of all of the EV hype, and now the market is responding positively to it. However, this is, in my point of view, it's a big red flag if a company is financially that weak and they need the money, because otherwise they would actually go out of business, and this way they have to IPO. So this is not really an offering to the investors, it's rather, hey guys, we need the money in order to continue and go forward. So I do understand that it's strong that they are able to raise 400 million before that, and they have big backers like Alibaba and Xiaomi. However, in general, I have to say that I'm rather a fan of the investments that Tencent is doing. I have a little bit of agnostic views towards Alibaba. I'm not a big fan of the corporate culture and some of the services, so it doesn't impress me much that they are invested in XPeng. So I would rule their name out of a reason why this should be get you excited about the XPeng IPO. But then there's also more bad news on the product side. So maybe let's just ignore that the product actually looks exactly like a copy of the Model 3, which per se I don't really like, because that's obviously showing that the company doesn't have their own ideas, and they're not innovative on the design space and so forth. However, I have to say, well, I'm also investing in Huami, which is obviously a challenger to the Apple Watch, and also doing some copying here. So I'm not generally ruling that out. However, it shows you a little bit here in the case of XPeng that there is no bigger vision or mission or a unique idea of the company, in contrast to, for instance, Huami, which has this bigger ecosystem and healthcare platform, which I think on top of the hardware gives some extended benefit there. But back to XPeng, this goes actually hand in hand with the fact that Tesla is accusing XPeng of actually hiring former Tesla employees and stealing the America's company's autopilot source code. And now the autopilot, the XPeng pilot, should be one of the big unique selling propositions here. And in that regard, if they're kind of copying the source code, that doesn't bode well to me as a potential investor. Also, you can see that BlackBerry is actually making the operating system for XPeng and smart cars. So a legacy company that has failed when Apple entered the markets is making the software here for XPeng, and they're using, for instance, NVIDIA chipsets here. So that shows you that there is not so much uniquely intrinsic IP value here, and most of it is actually coming from other companies that they are just buying or even stealing. So that's not a good outlook here. Then coming back to the weak position on which XPeng is actually raising the money, if you look at the XPeng P7 sales, they have just started in May and they just barely sold 200 cars, and then in June 300 cars. So that's really tiny numbers here, and there is really no legacy to know whether or not the cars are actually accepted by the consumers and how is the feedback of those consumers and so forth. Only in July they managed to ramp it up to 1,700 sales. However, that could also be just a big pump before actually going into this IPO. So let's have a look also a little bit on the valuation here. And my understanding is that XPeng has outstanding shares of 1,240 million. And the latest news, and this is why I waited for this video, is that they want to price the offering at $15 a share. So that is much higher than what previously was rumored, and this puts it at a valuation of roughly 18.6 billion US dollars, in case the outstanding shares are right from the prospectus, and in case this latest news about the share price offering of XPeng is actually true today. So now that valuation against the estimated sales of around, let's say, 500 million US dollars this year in 2020, that gives them a sales multiple of 37. And if you watched my video before on the Li Auto IPO, I've been actually warning back then for investors of Li Auto that they are investing in a company that is trading at a 16 times sales multiple, because they IPO'd at around 8 billion of an valuation back then. And yeah, you have to admit they're now up to 20 billion in a valuation, which puts their sales multiple even higher at 40 times the sales. And to be honest, I would say this is nowhere near sustainable. This is not good value as an investor, and this stock price has to come down, in my opinion, and it will come down with the first negative news for these companies and whenever bank analysts are downgrading the stock. So I can only warn you here and say to be really cautious about investing in both Li Auto as well as XPeng in those IPOs at the current prices. I'm not saying that these companies may have not a reason to exist or whether or not they may be growing in the future. However, they are not giving you as an investor a good value unless you're trying to kind of day trade or sell the spikes. And you can certainly bet on that XPeng will be going up today because of the EV hype. That is certainly possible. I'm not saying that this is not possible. However, as a long-term investor, this is not a good way to enter the stock, because if you compare it to companies like Tesla and NIO, then you will see that, for instance, for Tesla, it's trading roughly at, let's say, 400 billion in market cap and 36 billion estimated 2020 sales. So that's a sales multiple of 11 for the perfect industry leader here, which is really strong and definitely much more than just an EV company in the early stages. This company is much de-risked and has so much more assets. I cannot even talk about that. And then NIO with 20 billion US dollars valuation currently roundabout, and 2020 sales of above 2 billion puts him at the sales multiple at 9.5, a little bit lower than Tesla. So I think those companies are actually fairly valued in this regards, and those companies are much further down the line if you remember my chart about the startup cycles. So instead you could just think about putting your money into Tesla or NIO, which give you a much better price based on the valuations, and on top of that their business models are much more refined, much more proven. And I can tell you, on top of that, I personally, tested and did my due diligence on those companies, and I can certify that these are really good products in the market out there. So yeah, once again, I'm sorry to say this IPO doesn't make sense for me. I'm not gonna spend any money on XPeng and not on Li Auto either. Certainly these stocks may fly high a little bit, but I couldn't care less, because if I look what else is in the market with Tesla and NIO, those companies are way better price, a way better investment for the investors, and in my point of view they have a much better competitive advantage, a much clearer outlook on where they're going, and therefore in total they're the much better investment setup. And I hope this also makes clear that people who maybe think that they missed a train with Tesla or with NIO, with the recent stock prices, that it's maybe too late for them to invest and now they want to jump onto the next thing, that actually this is misleading here in this regard, because Li Auto and XPeng, they are much higher valued from where they actually are today. So they have much more higher catch up to do than actually NIO and Tesla. So this doesn't make sense to me to invest into those new companies, even though that Tesla and NIO are of course now not bargains anymore either. So I hope you find this information useful. Let me know down in the comments whether or not you are taking the risk and you're jumping onto XPeng, and what do you think about the cars. Anyways, this is it so far from my side. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.